Chapter 52, Godot. As Max stopped reading, just as there was a loud woof, and Godot bounded onto the observatory deck, scattering some of Darling's platters. "Godot!" shouted Solo. "Welcome, man!" Godot bounded up to Solo and put a paw onto each of his shoulders. Solo telepathed, "So good to see you." "Same," telepathed Godot. "Is this my chapter?" "Definitely," said Solo. "Just in time then," said Godot, flopping onto the deck next to Solo. Sky ran over to hug him. "Good to see you, young Sky," telepathed Godot. "Same," telepathed Sky. "Right," shouted Asmax. "Shall I continue?" "Yes," shouted everyone. "You're just in time," said Asmax, looking at Godot. "This chapter is chapter 52, Godot. Here we go." "Godot," said Solo, giving his mate a big hug. Halo narrowed his eyes at the Labradoodle. He always saw Godot as his rival and was usually fairly immature about it. "Woof," said Godot. "Hello, Godot," said Halo rather formally. "Good to see you," said the Labradoodle. "I could say the same," said Halo, adding in an audible whisper, "but I won't." Squid heard him and frowned. "Just joking," whispered Halo. "The living creatures asked me to come," said Godot. "They have a message for Halo." Halo looked surprised and then stood tall and looked very proud. "Tell me," he said. "Privately," said Godot, nodding towards the lounge room. He and Halo disappeared inside for a few minutes while everyone else moved up onto the veranda to look out at the setting sun. "So beautiful," said Pallas. Bill grinned at her. "Must be good after being stuck inside a book for so long." "I'd find that terrifying," said Nell, "unless I was stuck in something like the beaches in paradise." "Which one did you get?" "Pass-outs for beginners," said Pallas. The thieves thought it must include the information they wanted, but it was so boring. There was no outside in there, no trees or ocean or sun. It was just room after room of strange words and numbers. I thought I was going to lose my mind. "It's bad enough being locked inside a book, but a boring book is even worse," said Storm. "And it's sort of symbolic of being trapped in Isla and the Overlord's false narrative about us abandoning our children and coming to Dragolan to steal jobs from the locals." "And so many other made-up stories," said Pallas. "Isla even claimed that we were trying to sell our children." Nell frowned. "Dreadful," she said. Bill looked concerned, and then he sighed. "I'm glad it's over," he said. "Yes," said Nell. "Drink this in," said Bill, gesturing towards the ocean as it breathed in and out. "Wonderful," said Pallas. Halo suddenly burst onto the deck with news. "I have a message for all of you," he announced. "The living creatures asked me to say it, not Godot." Everyone stared at the angel, glad for him, realising how important it was for him to feel grand. "Vancro Snark has moved the thieves to another land, so they won't be sanctioned at this point, but angels and wizards who work for the living creatures will be watching them. One day they will be caught for their terrible behaviours, but the living creatures cannot override Vancro Snark's legal command at this point." Nell shook her head. "Thank you," she said. "It's disappointing that they won't be dealt with right now, but good to know they're leaving Dragolan at least. Thank you for telling us." "Good to know they'll be watched as well," said Bill, looking fierce. Halo bowed low, clearly still feeling the immense pride of having been chosen to speak by the living creatures. I think that should be changed to having been chosen by the living creatures to speak. I don't know. My grammar's not always that good. having been chosen to speak by the living creatures, or having been chosen by the living creatures to speak. I think the first way is best. Godot sat in the background, his tongue hanging out, allowing Solo to pat his back. Solo telepathed to him, "That was nice of you." Godot looked up at Solo, his eyes twinkling, but he didn't say a word. "So the thieves just continue to cause harm," said Petrel, looking upset. Pallas shook her head. "People like Vancro Snark just move people like the thieves. Just move people like the thieves around and around," said her mother. "But one day their time will come." Pallas hugged Petrel, who looked as if she was going to cry. "You okay?" asked Toll. Petrel looked at him. "I am very much not okay with people like them going free," said Petrel. What if they hurt harm others like us?" Toll nodded. "Eventually," he said, "it has to end." Petrel sighed. "Surely," she said. "Certainly," said her dad. "We might have to write petitions to the Prime Minister." "Can we?" asked Petrel. "Of course," said Nell. "Let's start one now." A terrible smell seemed to be wafting from Halo's trousers. "Halo," said Nell, would you mind not sharing your smells with us?" "Sorry," said Halo. "I caught a sample of Miguel's odour yesterday and I put it into a bottle. It was supposed to be a special effect to go with the movie, but I forgot to use it until just now." "A special toilet effect?" asked Bill with a smile. "How thoughtful of you." Just got to add that in. "A special toilet effect?" asked Bill with a smile. "How thoughtful of you." "I aim to please," said Halo. "Now, I'd advise anyone who started their Imagineering training to get on with it, because I'll be back one day soon to see where you're up to." "Good," said Toll. "You too, Petrel," said Halo, spinning around to stare at her. "I've been told that you'll be starting your training in the new year, so get your imagining cap on." Petrel looked shocked. "Don't worry," said Jax. "Being an imaginician is the best." "I don't want to end up cleaning Miguel's toilets if I fail," whispered Petrel. "Or Halo's." "I heard that," said Halo. "Mine is much nicer than Miguel's." "Don't listen to him," said Nell. "You'll be fine." "Do listen to me," said Halo, and then he roared, "Does anyone want to watch my film again on the big screen?" "Yes," was the overwhelming reply. With great enthusiasm, Halo prepared to project his film again, promising to bring back some special toilet footage in the new year for anyone with a strong stomach. As Halo was setting up his projector, something caught his eye. "Look!" he shouted, pointing to a strange flying creature near the horizon, way out to sea. "It's Yarpa." Everyone strained to see the small object flapping enormous wings far away. "Yarpa!" exclaimed Jax. "I've met her." "Have you?" gasped Halo. "I've always wanted to." "Do you think it's really her?" asked Jax. "Of course," said Halo. "I've only met her in a dream," said Jax, "but it was such a good dream that Zizi and I wrote a story about it." "I couldn't care if I met Yarpa in a dream or on the moon," said Halo. "To meet the illustrious Phoenix would be the ultimate experience of my life." "But you've met the living creatures," said Toll. "How much more exciting could Yarpa be?" "Only a bit," said Halo. "The living creatures are beyond incredible." "I think she's amazing," said Jax. "She's a kindness wizard." "All phoenixes are kindness wizards," said Halo. "Ask Solo. He'll tell you why we need them." Everyone stared at Solo as Halo nosedived off the balcony. The wild little angel headed straight down towards the ground before rising up into the sky to catch the wind currents that would lead him out to sea. "What do you know?" asked Toll and Jax in unison. "Another day," said Solo. "I'm exhausted." "Yes," said Nell, "save it for tomorrow. For now, I think we all deserve a rest." To their very great surprise, Jackson Toll suddenly felt overwhelmed by fatigue, and it seemed by far the most sensible decision not to try and solve every mystery that night. Nevertheless, they didn't go to bed straight away. Petrol, Solo, Toll, and Jax lit a campfire on the beach and tried to decide what they'd like to take on first as they studied to become Imagineers and Imaginicians. Their ideas ranged from solving every problem in the entire universe to inventing a chemical formula that would convert anything into chocolate. Petrol and Jax thought that figuring out a way to let people fly like birds would be excellent. Toll wanted to help people who'd been through a war or a famine or terrible fires or floods. Solo wanted to help all the animals everywhere to be safe. Their brainstorm lasted for hours as they watched the endless sparks spiral up from their fire towards the stars. All of a sudden there was a buzz and a strange shrilling noise, and Escher was there. Solo and Jax jumped up to hug him. "Petrol, this is my brother," said Jax, clearly proud. "Good to meet you," said Escher, sitting down on the sand. "Now tell me everything." "Oh, it's been incredible," said Solo. "I know," said Escher. "Jax has reported how massively brave you've all been." Solo grinned. "We have," he said. "What about you?" asked Jax. "Time travel? Amazing." "Later," said Escher. "I want to hear how you stopped the thieves in their tracks." "We did," said Solo, but added with a groan, "although Vancro Snark gave them a light sentence and let them move to another land." Escher raised his fist into the air. "But I've been to the future," he said, "and so will you." Petrol grinned at Escher. "Really?" she asked. "Really," said Escher. "Have you been in a time-travelling lighthouse yet?" asked Solo. Escher looked puzzled. "Not that I know of," he said. "Why?" Solo laughed. "Oddly enough, I've seen some of your future, clearly some that you've not yet seen." Escher nodded. "Fair enough," he said. "I'll look forward to it." Meanwhile, Dorrit and Lunawanna played chess back in the house, while Dodger sat with his dad talking endlessly. Squid lay nestled in a big beanbag with Tilly. Both were dreaming the most exciting dreams. Bullant and Nose played computer games, and everyone else simply enjoyed the boom of the waves as they crashed onto the beach. There were also the cries of ocean gulls and so many night noises that added to the blanket of peace that had settled over the group. Everyone wondered if Halo would find the Phoenix. Everyone hoped that tomorrow would bring a bright new dawn. And everyone knew that the adventures they'd already had richly qualified them for more. They all hoped that if they ever became time wizards or time pirates or magic time pirates, they'd be able to enjoy the best of adventures over and over again.